Great honor to address so many true American patriots who live by those timeless words, "In God we trust." I want to thank Steve Scheffler, Iowa GOP Chair Jeff Kaufman, and so many other great people in the room, all friends of mine. For 7 years, you and I have been fighting side by side, winning monumental victories for faith, for family, for freedom, and for life. Together, we achieve more for our values than any administration in the history of our country, and it's not even close. I appointed over 300 judges to fill the federal bench with pro-Constitution warriors who interpret the laws as written. I faced down vile attacks to confirm our 3 great Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Last year, after decades of work by organizations like yours, those justices delivered a landmark victory for protecting innocent life. Nobody thought it was going to happen. They thought it would be another 50 years because Republicans had been trying to do it for exactly that period of time, 50 years. From my first day in office, I took historic action to protect the unborn. I reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy, stopped taxpayer funding for abortion providers, and at the United Nations, I made clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect life. And I was the first president to attend, as you all know, the March for Life rally in Washington, D.C., the first. I defended the vital institution of faith-based adoption. In addition, my administration restored religious liberty and protected the conscience rights of groups like the Little Sisters of the Poor. We fought with them, and we were very successful. We stopped, very importantly, the Johnson Amendment from interfering with pastors and First Amendment rights of people of faith. That was a very important thing, and I also stood proudly with our friend and ally, the State of Israel. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. We got it built, and we got it built for very little, and it's a very beautiful building. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. They've been trying to get that done for 52 years, and I got it done in one afternoon. In everything I did, I faithfully kept my word to the people of Iowa, especially our great farmers. We love our farmers. When China targeted our farmers, I gave them $28 billion. Nothing like that's ever happened before in any industry, let alone our great farming industry. $28 billion straight out of the tariffs that I took from China. I had China paying hundreds of billions of dollars. No president had ever gotten 10 cents from China. Hundreds of billions. We got 28 billion because our farmers were treated unfairly, and that made up for about 100% of it. We scored one trade victory after another for American agriculture, and the big one was, as you know, the USMCA. Got rid of NAFTA, one of the worst trade deals ever made, and did the USMCA, Mexico and Canada. And it's so good, actually, that Canada and Mexico are trying to renegotiate it now, and they should not do that. To protect family farms, I virtually eliminated the unfair estate tax or the death tax. So now you can leave your farm to the ones you love, and you don't have to pay tax. That was a big one. I fought for Iowa ethanol, just as I promised, issuing a rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round. I also dramatically increased the number of fueling pumps where E15 could be sold across the country. I was a big fan of ethanol, and I did a great job. I don't think any other president's done anything even close. And unlike Joe Biden, I fought to protect Iowa's first-in-the-nation caucuses. Without me, you would no longer be the first in the nation. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and we had the safest border in the history of our country. And you look at it now, how horrible it is. It's never happened anything like what's going on. I believe it's probably the worst border perhaps ever anywhere in history. I say that third world countries would have stopped people even if they had to use sticks and stones if it was ever like what's happened to our country. By the end of this year, I think you could have as many as 15 million people People don't know where they came from, who they are. They emptied their mental institutions. They emptied their prisons into the United States of America like we're a dumping ground. We're going to stop that day one. Every promise I made to you as a candidate, I've fulfilled as your president. And I will continue to fight for our values, our faith, and our freedom when we become the very important 47th President of the United States. We have to do it, or we're not going to have a country left. There has never been a time like this for our country. I say that if you take the first 5 presidents that are the absolute worst and you add them all together, they haven't done the harm that Joe Biden and his administration have done to our country. It's so sad. My administration will again adopt rock-solid constitutional conservatives to be federal bench justices and judges, but in the mold of Antonin Scalia and Justice Clarence Thomas, who, by the way, right now is under siege by the radical left. As the most pro-life president in American history, I will continue to stand strong against the extreme late-term abortionists in the Democrat Party who believe in abortion on demand in the 9th month of pregnancy and even executing babies after birth. They actually talk beyond birth, after birth, executing the baby. This is where we've come, and it's so sad to see. I will stand proudly in defense of innocent life, just as I did for 4 very powerful, strong years, because every child, born and unborn, is a sacred gift from God. I will stop Joe Biden's weaponization of government and law enforcement against conservatives, patriots, Christians, and pro-life activists. We will obliterate the deep state and completely overhaul the FBI and DOJ to protect your constitutional rights. As you know, another critical fight is the battle to retake schools from the radical left. The Marxism being preached in our classrooms is totally hostile to traditional religious teachings. Under my leadership, we will bring back God to our schools and our public squares, and that will happen very quickly. On day one, we will begin to find the radical zealots and Marxists who have infiltrated the Federal Department of Education, and we will have them escorted from the building. I will immediately sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. The left-wing gender lunacy being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse, and it will stop immediately. As president, I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease the promotion of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to send me a bill prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. And I will keep men out of women's sports. That's a simple one. We will give back the power to parents. Parental power will again be a force in our nation. Under my leadership, we will defeat the cult of gender ideology, and we will reassert the timeless truth that God created 2 genders, male and female. We will defend our culture. We will reassert the Judeo-Christian values of our nation's founding. We will protect our heritage and traditions, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless America.